Hello, welcome to the Square Base Show with me, Rob, and Val Heffelfinger in what is an amazing emergency podcast because a second FAQ has hit the old world, and we are excited to be here. Let's get into it.
Let's get after it, Robbo.
Let's go.
This is it.
Let's go. We are ready for what is going to be an exciting show for everyone here in the room. Anyone watching this back live, thank you very much.
Yes.
Please do leave comments. We're going to want to read all of your comments on YouTube and the podcast about everything that you think about this FAQ. Val, I'm just going to jump straight into the subject. A second FAQ for the old world 2 months out from launch. How are you feeling about that?
I mean, there's no way. I don't think there's any valid way to feel about it, just to invalidate any other ways that people are feeling about it, aside from incredibly pleased and enthusiastic. Obviously, you know, in the lead up to this game, there was a lot of, I don't know, doubt, questions as to how well supported it would be, about whether or not it would just be sort of, you know, here are your rules, deal with it type of a scenario, which they've had many times in the past. I'm so pleased to be here today, and that is not the case.
Yeah, so I'm going to just jump straight in off the bat for the people. I said there's a load of different camps whenever an FAQ comes out for the different game systems, but I'm going to just pitch this straight away. I think any FAQs coming out for the game is really excellent because it shows support for the game, which I think is positive. And as we already know from the community article we saw a few weeks ago, this game is selling so well. There's a terrible kind of copy-paste rumor going around at the minute, which people are like quoting a lot. But the old world, from everything I know from everyone who works at Games Workshop, the old world has blown away sales expectations.
Who could have guessed, Rob?
There's
going to be a lot of, by the way, everyone, there's going to be a lot of horn tooting in this episode.
Get ready.
Get ready for us to be riding on our high horses.
Yeah, we're going to be bugling.
Yes, trumpeting the prescient power of Squarebase. But yes, who could have guessed that this would have been a very successful enterprise, Robert?
Yeah, well, exactly.
Google Trends?
Yeah, I mean, the millions of sales of Total War, who could have tell? But the important part is, don't forget that this game is growing. Is massive initially, is growing, and the scope of the game from the developers has been increased. So they've been given more resources. Well, we don't know if they've been given more resources, but they've been given a bigger mandate, which is obviously brilliant. So
I think they may have gotten an extra toner cartridge for the printer. Could be big.
I heard, now I actually, as some of you may know, I do have some sources. I've heard an entire new set of pens were delivered.
No.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I bet you it might probably just like the big ballpoints, but maybe they got some of those like gel, you know, really nice gliding pens. Maybe some foolscap. Who knows? I mean, the sky's the limit, really here, guys.
The pizza party has been upgraded. The pizza party has been upgraded to
getting pepperoni, everybody. The pepperoni pizza party. Rob, you were about to say that there's a cut and paste rumor. What was that?
Oh, there is, and I would like to dismiss it as much as I can right now. There's just some like green text rumor kind of like screenshot that's been doing the rounds, which I think has a lot of people kind of like unnerved because a lot of it is fairly detrimental to the old world in that kind of article. But some of the things that are in that article we know specifically are untrue, and therefore like the whole thing is not worth looking through. But
can't wait to read it and eviscerate it. But cool.
Yeah. So, but the important part is, just to jump us off, an FAQ is really good for the health of the game. Some people normally go along the lines of, like, I don't like it because I'm going to have to relearn new stuff. They've changed everything. They're constantly changing stuff, which is kind of like a criticism that people have. I don't think that's what any of this is. I think lots of it's clarification or just being aware of stuff, which I think is really good. Having ran 2 old world events now, and Val himself ran 3 old world events myself, and Val having played in 2, I think we would both agree that there are many points that need some clarification. That's fair to say.
Yes, absolutely. And I think I want to like also, I think sometimes the signal gets mixed up a bit amongst the noise. And I think really what people got tired with was actually, oddly enough, balancing updates. Things that, you know, were driven about like taking rules away because you might get excited, buy a bunch of stuff, build your army in a certain way, and then suddenly the game changes in a significant way for specific units and the way the meta actually is. And the way that 40K and AOS was managed for guys like us and players like us, that was actually really exciting when I was participating in 40K. I really did love seeing that. But it can be really disheartening and frustrating if you only have a limited amount of time to invest. I think, to Rob's point, what this is actually more like early days of 8th edition 40K, because that's like the Hellison days. Just to set that stage, essentially you had one of the worst, least supported, i.e. never FAQ'd until the final minutes editions in 7th edition 40K, followed by 8th edition, which was released to incredible support. Like the community, like the positivity and the vibe was, I think, very similar to the way I feel about Old World right now. Mm-hmm. And the thing is that game out of the gates, it sucked. It was broken as hell. Like it just fundamentally didn't work in a lot of ways. And it needed constant revision and rewrite. And it required a studio willing to take that feedback, to observe what the community was saying, and to make those adjustments on the fly. And so, you had FAQ, you had like almost an FAQ every other month for the first 6 months of that game to get it to a place where it works mechanically. And I think that's essentially what we're seeing here.
Yeah. Also, that version of 40K was while again like kind of a golden time, also mechanically incredibly flawed, which is not what I think Old World is. I don't think it's mechanically mega flawed, to be honest. I've seen again 3 weekends of people playing games to conclusions almost competently and without my input, with only questions coming up like, hey, let's have a chat. So great. Also, I was there in the days when there were no FAQs. It was just a community comp and a community system. So I'm gonna put my flag in the ground, say another FAQ, amazing.
Wonderful.
Let's go through it and look at what's in there.
Let's do it.
Is there still some stuff missing? Val's going to talk about that at the end. I'm sure there will be, but the fact that we've got a second one 2 months in shows that I think we're going to see even more support in the future.
And I actually, before, like, as we jump in, anyone who's like super nerded out on the rules and is like really in tune with all this stuff will think, oh, they didn't answer X or Y. And I want to say that one of the reasons why we've all been getting along so well at the events that we've been had the opportunity to have a part of, and the events that we've been hearing about taking place across the world is, when you're at the table, you make a call. Like you may not have a hard line about which way it goes, but either the TO or the players come to some sort of a resolution. And even though there are some significant missing pieces to this puzzle, the fact that they have done such a good job and been, I think, internally fairly consistent in their logic and how rulings have been made, that means that we have a much better place as organizers, as people playing at the table. We have, I'd say, a little bit more of an understanding of how they rule things, right? And what intent is. And of course, we could only make our best guess, but that will make lives easier, I think, and lend more credibility to any unresolved questions to be answered in future FAQs by us or other people, other community FAQs, to resolve questions in a way that seems in line with the philosophy and style that we've now seen in 2 different FAQs.
Yeah, also, and as been pointed out in the chat, which I think is great, we've seen core rules looked at. We've seen both of the 2 Forces of Fantasy and the Ravening Hordes both updated, and we saw changes to the Renegade data sheets, the tomes as well. So they attacked everything and they went for it, which is great. So let's dive straight in. Let's dive straight in from the cut. So for everyone at home, you can see it on the screen. Podcast, obviously, just imagine in your mind. So we'll go through these one at a time. We'll take them in order. First one, we're going to look at, this is from the core rules is what we're looking at. So,
and these are errata.
Yeah, these are errata. So these are slightly bigger changes. Some of these I love, by the way, because these have actually changed how you're going to play the game, which is wicked. So first one, combat result. Whilst in combat order, a close order formation with a unit strength of 5 or more may claim +1 combat result point. Pretty simple. Pretty. You need a unit strength of 5 now. This wasn't true before.
I'm actually not quite sure. I think it may have been based on models in the unit, and then that created a little bit of an internal difference. I'm speaking out of turn there, but I'm pretty sure that's how it was. But this just also clarifies, like, really clearly. There are a lot of like single model entities like behemoths and big monsters that have close order, and the question was, do they get the +1 combat result? Yes is the answer if they have a unit strength of 5 or more. which makes me need to run and see manglers. I think that means the mangler doesn't get doesn't get the combat bonus, but that's a very me problem.
Yeah. Good. Next up is yours.
The next one is heavy casualties. If during any single phase other than the combat phase, a unit loses more than a quarter, 25%, of the models it contained at the start of the phase, it must make a panic test. I am not quite sure exactly how that one changed.
I think in the combat phase is the change.
Okay. So yeah. So basically, you don't have to test if someone's in combat. Okay, cool. Because that has been questioned, but I just assumed that it was a no. So that would be a good clarification.
Yeah, cool. I think one of the major issues for us is we're already going to have answered many of these questions ourselves, and like, okay, that's how it works. Okay, we've got chariot runners. Friendly models whose troop type is chariot can draw a line of sight through or over models with this special rule and can move through friendly units if they're in skirmish formation and if the majority of models have this special rule. I think the change is the majority. There's actually a couple of changes to this universal special rules. We're going to look at this again when we look at reserve move, when we look at swift stride, where it's the majority of the models in the unit, which means if you include a hero, or a character in a unit that doesn't have it, you actually, which opens up, by the way, Bud, when we get to it for reserve move, you're going to get your caster on a wolf, which is spicy.
So this actually, we could probably just summarize: evasive, fire and flee, random movement, reserve move. All of them now are worded so that it's the majority of the models. If they have it, they get to use it. So this actually answers one of my biggest question marks, and they do this in a lot of other of these errata later on, and they get things consistent because there's no global rule about this. Essentially, when does a special rule confer from an item to the bearer or its mount or to its unit, or when does a special rule confer from a character model to its unit or a unit to its character model? So that's what they're answering here, because that was actually quite unclear. Most of the rules indicated that it was the model, that the unit got the rule, and that would suggest that if you had one unit with, for example, swift stride in the unit, then the whole unit would get it. Swift stride is actually the only one that's a little bit different here. It actually does say that in all models, the entire unit has to have swift stride. That's the only one in this particular stretch of changes that was tweaked so that everybody has to have swift stride in order to have swift stride. But yeah, cool stuff like reserve move. You can now pop a character into, a unit of fast cav, say a casting wizard, and now you can sort of move them in and out. That's really awesome for vortexes. That's awesome for magic missiles. If you can get a Lore of Illusion guy in there, he can get real close and then back out. So really, really cool, I think, thing going on there.
I think also getting out of casters. Yeah, so we've kind of covered two extra things there. So the swift stride, as Val said, the unit needs to be entirely, all the models need to have swift stride in them, but for reserve move, it's the majority. And that's actually opened up, in my opinion, loads of list writing for that reserve move trick, because now you can put a little unit into a reserve move unit, and that's much more mobile. And yeah, casters are going to be one of those things.
So much fun.
So yeah, they're going to be really, really fun. I've been using level 4 Demon Prince. That's had just loads of movement and been really fun. It doesn't have the reserve move, but I can see having that as an option is really hot. So I love that a load. So evasive covered there. Next up is you, Fire and Flee.
So Fire and Flee, it's the exact same thing that we were just talking about. So Fire and Flee is it's a charge reaction. Again, if the majority of the models have it, they can use it. So Fire and Flee allows you to shoot and then run away, but you only get to run away 1d6. If you're Swift Stride though, you get to run away 3d6. So that's pretty 2d6. So that's pretty cool. Sandwiched in here is also one, Rob, that I actually skimmed over and is actually one of the biggest ones in this whole FAQ.
Random
Go
movement.
for it.
Random movement. When a model with this special rule moves, roll the dice to determine its maximum movement.
That's big. So the reason why that's big is the question was, previous versions of random movement meant you had to move your full move. And so now we're just saying that's the maximum it can move. Therefore, you can move less than that. So you don't even have to pretend to pivot all the way over and pivot all the way over, which is how a lot of people were doing it, imagining, sort of going back and forth to use up the movement. We're just saying now it establishes your maximum move and you can use that. This is actually not what my whispers were telling me that was going to happen with random movement. So that's actually cool. This keeps, I think, random movers very interesting. So I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, I think that's a
confirmation.
good change. Also means that obviously if you have like things that reduce movement or add on to movement, then that's going to reduce obviously the movement when you roll it, etc., etc. The next one that we're going to look at. The next one we're going to look at is the Berserker Blade, which also applies to the Bedazzling Helm as well. Add the following to the weapon profile on the Berserker Blade. The wielder of the Berserker Blade is frenzied. So there's just some clarity there. And I'll just jump in with the Bedazzling Helm as well, which is models whose troop type is infantry or cavalry only.
Sorry, dragons.
Sorry, dragons. You can't have a shiny helmet. Okay. Yeah, I think, and when we get to it later, there's also another change to how you're going to equip dragons and large models with armor and other stuff, which I think is, again, kind of softly but very gently has destroyed a meta which maybe never even was going to exist in the first place. Who knows? So it's pretty spicy. Next one is for you.
The next one is this is the dispel thing. They had a misprint in the quick reference sheet. So replace the first bullet point as follows: if the result exceeds the casting roll, the spell is dispelled. So yeah, they had it so that was you only had to match it in the the other thing.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. This is good. This is good. I mean, it's just clarity, right? But there we go.
That was probably a copy error of some kind. So that is a minor cleanup because no one was playing it that way anyway. We're good.
Now we have a bunch of those are all the erratas. What do you think about the erratas so far? How are you feeling?
So massive, like I said, massive things. When does a special rule confer? They're cleaning that up, and they clean it up in the Ravening Hordes and Forces of Fantasy FAQs too. So that's awesome. And then also random movement getting settled. That's fantastic. So far very good. I think there's some FAQs coming up that probably could have also been erratas, but that's all right. We can do them as FAQs. I think it works just fine.
I'm most happy with the reserve move. I think that's good. That's opened up some list writing, which I think is good. Okay, frequently asked questions.
All of those clarifications, I think, opens up a lot of fun stuff, especially with fast cav or mixing units and characters. It just makes list building more fun. Look at that. They made it more fun. That's great. I think the random mover thing, by not making that rule really restricted, the game is fun. There's lots of play, so that's great.
We love that. All right, let's go through the questions. First question. If I mark the position of a unit, then proceeds to move it before putting it back where it was, moving it again, does this count as a take back? Yes, absolutely. I'd just like to clarify that they haven't then clarified what a take back even is.
No, they have. Take back is in, is
it in the core rules?
That's actually one of the first things they talk about take backsies, and that once you've done something and moved on from it, that's a take back. You're not supposed to do it. It's actually codified in this.
The answer to this is no. Just as
the answer is certainly no.
No.
For the purpose of tournament play, 100%. If you want to mark your unit and move it and then bring it back on something that's important, yes, absolutely, you can do that.
Okay.
But perhaps we're seeing JTY's stodgy Stillmanian approach to playing in this particular answer.
Yeah, this is like just an old man situation where his solo friend he plays against is a dick, but he has no way to change that. So anyway, that's the answer to that as a community is no. So you could just skip past that. If anyone, by the way, ever brings that up in front of you, just walk away. Just go home. Okay, next one's you.
I am just waiting for the screen to come back. So if you could read it, it's just sort of
sure. No problem.
Oh, actually, no, I got it. How does a close order unit of just one model act? Is it still a close order formation, or does it act like a skirmisher? A close order unit always acts as such, even if it only contains a single model.
An important point to note, because this came up at one of the events. So if you go and look at any of your units, and if you look in the keywords located at the bottom, or the special rules, the USRs that they have, it will say that they're close order or they're open order or they're a skirmish. If they have none of those, there is actually a section in the rule book, which is quite well hidden, which is lovely, which then says that they act like a skirmisher. like which is hidden, right? Now you have to go. So therefore, the lack of a word confers to it another word, and yet doesn't give it many of the benefits of a skirmish unit other than 360 line of sight. That's a thing that they haven't done, but they're discussing that there because some people thought, oh, it's a character, so it's a character, therefore it's it's got 360, and it's no. If it's got the close order, then that's not the case. That's what that's discussing.
Yeah. And also, if a unit is reduced to one model, that in previous editions they become skirmishers. So that was, I think, another situation where that would come up. So yeah, if it's close order, it's close order. Even if you're just the champ, wheeling a 25 millimeter base is hilarious, but nonetheless, that's the way she goes.
I love that.
This next one's comical.
Okay, go for it.
Oh, sure. Does a unit count as being obscured when some of the models within it are behind others? No, a unit cannot be obscured from the enemy by itself. Yeah. All right. Cool.
Okay. Thank you for whoever.
Thanks for clearing that one up. Yeah. Whoever asked that, just go to the back of the classroom.
Yeah. Go.
All right.
Next up, we're moving on to magic. If a wizard has a magic item or special rule that allows them to re-roll a failed casting roll, and now this is big, can they re-roll a natural double one and avoid a miscast? Guess what, suckers? No. A roll of a natural one isn't merely a failed casting roll, it's a miscast, as described in 109. So all you magic lovers out there, life's just got a little bit more risky for you.
So, yes, and also, what I'm wondering is, does that mean that you miscast? But can you? So I guess I'm assuming here this just means if you roll double ones, you can't re-roll it. Period. Full stop. You just do the miscast table.
Yeah,
that's what it's saying here. Okay. Because I'm also wondering here, there's once you resolve the miscast table, can you re-roll the dice then? But I'm gonna
re-roll it into another miscast. Yeah,
right? The true
only
joy.
If you're,
only if you're me.
I'm gonna say no re-roll.
I'm going to say that this just means a double one just stops it. You go to the miscast table, it's over. Yeah, cool.
Okay, which is a big deal, I personally think. Next up, can a wizard with a physical... Oh, no, this is you next, sorry. I don't want to...
Oh, can a wizard when you move the thing, it takes a second for it to reload on here for some reason. Can a wizard with a physical attribute that counts as a type of armor, such as a Treeman Ancient's arboreal armor, make casting or dispel rolls? Yes, while such attributes are as protective as a suit of armor, such models do not wear armor.
No way.
So this is actually this is again clearly a mistake or unclear thing, which is like demon princes have armor, and that should prevent them from casting. I think they actually errata that later. So this is I think a blanket FAQ that says if we missed it. Yes, of course. If they're given armor and they're a caster, they can still cast. Yeah. So that's good.
Same. Well, I mean, inside the Chaos Armor rule specifically, it also discusses that as well. But yes, which is one of the first rules I ever read, so I'm kind of carried that through to everything else. But if you came at it from another direction, where you were just reading Empire stuff, and then all of a sudden you see a caster with armor, you're like, what the hell? So yeah, I get that. Although it cannot make it. Wait. Oh no. Wait. They're on a page each. Sorry. We're going on to movement next.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah.
Can a unit that rallies and reforms during the rallying, fleeing unit subphase move during the movement phase? Answer, yes. Read the rules.
Yes. That one is just so... I understand that this is clear in the book, but it's one of those things that we're so hard programmed to not think that you can do that even if you read it over and over again, you don't believe what you're reading. So I think actually, although this is an FAQ... This is probably a genuine FAQ in the sense that it's frequently asked, even though it's answered in the book. So they're making sure that it's written somewhere. So I think that's although it's it's obviously in the book it's obvious. It's I think a valid FAQ.
Yeah, that's fair.
This one's hilarious because this is one that Peter the Falcon brought up with me, and then I've never seen anyone else talk about it. But which is, can a unit move whilst locked in combat? No is the answer, but. Rules is written. There's nothing that says you can't just walk away, which is hilarious. so they nipped that one in the bud. Whew, got away with it. It didn't become the meta. Just leaving combat whenever you feel, unless you're Kicknick Trickletooth.
Okay, who can? Okay.
But anyway, yeah.
All right. Okay. So next one. Does a unit that has to declare a charge due to being frenzied or impetuous have to do so if a friendly unit of skirmishers lies between it and the potential charge target, obstructing its movement? The answer is if there's a chance of the skirmishers moving so that they are no longer an obstruction if they declare a charge, for example. Yes. Otherwise, no. Because in another case, the unit would be blocking its way, but this unit can move out of its way.
Yeah, well, I think this also clarifies too. On top of that, this clarifies sort of the general concept of what is a possible charge, like when is a charge possible, because they say in the rules that like in these cases you have to declare it if it's possible, and the question is usually, well, it's possible if I were to declare a charge, which would result in a failed charge for the frenzy people or the impetuous unit behind. But I think one of the good things that they're clarifying here is that it's if they declare a charge, for example. So it's not like if the skirmishers could declare a charge and get out of the way, then the frenzy people have to declare. No, it's if the skirmishers literally have declared a charge and will get out of the way, then you would need to declare. But if you just keep your skirmishers screening them and holding back the frenzied units, you're good to go. And I think that's a great clarification that you actually do have to actively declare. It's not just if it's possible for them to declare.
Yeah, which is good. Next one.
Although it cannot make a charge move, a unit in marching column can declare a charge. Robert, why is this? There are several reasons. Dun, 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 dun. One of the biggest, here we go. Buckle up, everyone. Here it is. It's big. Firstly, a drilled unit that declares a charge whilst in marching column can freely redress its ranks to adopt combat order after determining its charge range, but before moving, thus allowing it to make a charge move. Secondly, units that are obliged to declare a charge in certain circumstances, those that are frenzied or impetuous, for example, must do so even whilst in marching column. If they cannot make the charge move, they don't move at all, and the charge is failed. This prevents marching column being used to avoid declaring compulsory charges. Alternatively,
I would have liked thirdly. I can't believe they hit secondly, then alternatively, but that's fine.
Maybe another whilst would have been good. There might be a psychological advantage to declaring a charge with a marching column. For example, the unit might cause terror. So you're causing a terror check. So that's actually a cool little piece of tech they're telling us here. Or the charge target might already be fleeing, causing them to flee again. Of course, it isn't easy to set up situations where such tactics can be used, and therein lies the challenge. So sick. Rob, I think this is the first tooting of our own horn here. I wish I had a good foghorn, but
yeah,
oh well.
I think my major issue with this is that this will mean that even more units are charging. Which that's not actually an issue. That's great, because that means you're doing some fighting, which I like.
I think that the thing here is that you can redress ranks and use drilled and charge, which is I just want to go back. And unfortunately, I'm really mad that we buried the episode where we talked about Warhammer ancient battles in the second half of an episode, because I feel like we would have had a lot of I told you so's. But we talked about drilled then, and drilled was cut and pasted from Warhammer Ancient Battles, including the wording on declaring charges for marching column. Marching column and drilled are both from Warhammer Ancient Battles. That's where they come from. And this was how the mechanic worked in that game. Specifically, Roman legionaries had drilled. They could march down the field, redress, and then do cool stuff. It's for really elite troops. It's to add more dynamism to the.
It's an expensive upgrade. Yeah.
Most of these units are paying for it. Yeah, for sure. So like that is why drilled is in there. That's why these mechanics exist. And this answer is so beautifully comprehensive, because it also talks about the fact that if you're frenzied or impetuous, you can get basically trapped in a loop where you are completely screwed. So if you're frenzied and for some reason you're like, I'm going into a marching column, and someone just parks a unit at the edge of your like anywhere in your charge range, you are locked. Like you are stuck. You don't move anywhere. You don't do anything. You are just stuck. So don't do that. is the simple. Everyone's be like, well, it can't be because then you'd just be stuck. No, it can be. You would just be stuck. Therefore, if you're frenzied, don't go into marching column
Ever.
And then impetuous, probably not as well. So there you go.
I agree. Also, just some clarification for people at home. Just reread drilled. Drilled allows you to redress the ranks, not reform.
Not a reform.
Which are different things. So it's just be conscious of that. Like read. I encourage everyone, because it's something I had to redo over the weekend. Read redress and read reform. They're different. Drilled allows you to redress.
You can add or subtract a rank.
Okay. If a drilled unit in marching column has to declare a charge, you've done this already, right? This is the same thing.
No. This is a different one. I don't know what this one's actually talking about.
If a drilled unit in marching column has to declare a charge due to being frenzied or impetuous, can it choose not to use drilled to redress the ranks and adopt combat order? If it's able to redress the ranks, like if there's space, then no. A unit that is obliged to charge must endeavor to make use of any special rules it has in order to charge. So effectively, you can't electively not to use additional rules on your unit. So like you can't be clever about it and be like, oh yeah, I do have drill, but I don't have to drilled. Which I honestly could land either side of that. I like the idea that drilled is what you're effectively saying is you've got really the unit is a very cohesive, organized unit, and narratively but I guess what the point is like, can you have a really well organized unit of bloodthirsty killers?
That's right. Yeah, right. And I think actually there's a lot of this there's a lot of clarifications around like finding clever ways to like get out of having to charge with frenzy or impetuous. And they basically have provided you one. You move block it with skirmishers or another unit. That totally works, unless it has fly. But like at the final sentence here, I think is actually not snide. It's important, and it gives you an idea of the intent. The unit just really wants to charge, and it'll play this game without you if it has to. I think that is actually a really good way to think of it. It's like if it has the ability, so the unit itself. In the other example, the skirmishers have the ability to decide whether or not to charge. So that therefore it's not the onus isn't on the frenzied unit. If the frenzied unit has a means to charge, it has to charge is essentially the philosophy. And I think that's awesome.
I agree. That's it. Okay, let's move on.
If I want to charge an enemy unit that is a large target with a unit of mine that is in front that is in its front arc, for example, but cannot because the enemy unit is already engaged in its front arc, can I instead charge its flank? No, sometimes a charge isn't possible. And them's the breaks. One thing to point out, though, is that there is a thing. I think it's still valid and still works in Old World, which is clipping. Essentially, if the front arc of a unit is entirely taken up by models, but not is not wider than those models, the two corners of that front rank are still available to be charged into, because you'd be in base to base on the diagonal. Doesn't look great, but that is a thing.
It's not perfect. Like it really isn't, especially when you're like, bro, I can literally just touch it on the corner, and you're like, and I'm talking like, side by side. But there we go. I agree with you. The next one is in the shooting section. So we're done with movement. So we've addressed drilled and some other stuff.
Bangers in movement. Bangers.
Yeah. Shooting. Some chariots are equipped with large-scale missile weapons, such as bolt throwers. Who shoots such weapons? The crew, or the beasts that draw the chariot, or the chariot itself? Missile weapons mounted on chariots, or howdahs, are shot by the crew using their ballistic skill. I don't think that needs any commentary at all. Good. Let's continue.
I have a comment because the only reason I have a comment is a lot of those chariots and things with howdahs can be character mounts. So in my head, it was, could the character who's got a sick ballistic skill shoot the thing instead? The answer is no. It has to be shot by the crew. So like that I think isn't a bad clarification. It answered actually a question I did genuinely
Who thinks that a lord is stepping down from his mighty mount to go behind a little arrow and shoot it? Not me. That's not why.
Maybe he's using his executive ooversight to provide advanced direction to
micromanagement.
The crew firing it.
That's what he's doing. He's a bad leader. He's micromanaging those guys.
Combat.
Yeah.
Models in the fighting rank that are killed before they have a chance to fight cannot fight, But can a model make a supporting attack if the model in front is slain? This is a good question. The answer is yes. If they have not been killed, models able to make supporting attacks can do so as normal. In other words, casualties inflicted reduce firstly the number of models in the fighting rank that are able to fight, and secondly the number of models in the supporting rank that are able to fight. This one I also think is covered in the rule book, maybe not not super explicitly. Also something to always remember: supporting attacks from the second rank is a rule. Fight in extra ranks. It's rare. It's essentially spears.
Yeah, supporting attack is actually fighting extra ranks. They're the same rule written twice, referred to the same. So you're going to be like, oh, I can make a supporting attack. Like, no, you can only make a supporting attack with a weapon that's got fighting extra ranks. And you're going to be like, I am confused because what am I doing when it's a line at the front? Am I also making supporting attacks? The answer is yes, but also no.
Those aren't supporting attacks. Those are attacks in the fighting rank, not in base to base.
Yes.
I don't think they have a name. I don't think they have a name.
Anyway, like, so yeah. Anyway, we can move on from that. How many attacks can a model with a split profile make if it's in the fighting rank, but not into base contact with the enemy? A model with a split profile consists of not one model, but several all sharing the same base. Therefore, each model on that base could make a single attack. In that case of cavalry model, for example, this would be one attack from the rider and one from their mount. So, does that need explaining beyond that?
This was a really cool conversation we had in our Discord. It's happened across the internet. The conclusion we arrived at via Raw was that you get one attack in the fighting rank if you're not in base to base, because of how the combined profile rules read. So this is a straight buff to things like chariots and cavalry from how the community was interpreting it. This means if you're a monstrous cav, the rider and the mount get some extra attacks out on the wider edges of the fighting rank. So this is, I think, this is a really cool one. Clarification that I think, again, this is something that only the rules writers could have done, is clarified it that way. So that's great.
So if I have a base that's got 6 models on it, they can all make a supporting attack.
So let's see here.
A model with a split profile consists of not one model, but several, all sharing the same base. Therefore, each model on that base could make a single attack. In the case of a cavalry model, for example, this would be one attack from the mount and one from the rider. So that means, yes, as been pointed out in the chart, 6 snotlings can all make 6 snotling supporting attacks.
Yeah, we'd have to look at snotlings because I don't think that's a split profile specifically.
So it's a model with a split profile.
Yes, it's a split profile. So moreover, you'd be thinking of a unit of chariots, like Tomb King chariots. Generally speaking, will have a crew and a chariot, and there's more than one crew. So there's more than one horse. So you're getting a bunch of attacks. They're low quality attacks, but you're getting a bunch more attacks because each one of those individual models gets one attack. You'd have 2 horses and at least 2 crew. Orc chariots can have 3 crew. You can upgrade them. So that's dope AF. And a lot of the time, those models only have 1 attack each anyway. And
so if we ever get like a crew on a chariot, and that chariot is also on a monster, all of them will get a supporting attack. If that's ever a sandwich of models that they ever create, which sounds great. I'm in. Okay.
Absolutely.
Next up.
Next up, I apologize, I got distracted. Can a close order unit of just one model claim the close order combat result bonus? Yes, provided it has a unit strength of 5 or more. As per the errata on page 1, please see the beginning of this document, dummy. As mentioned previously, a close order unit of just one model is still a close order unit. So with the errata, I don't know if they needed to answer it there, but cool.
I agree. We're next moving on to challenges, an interesting section.
There's one blue one that I think that you just skimmed past.
Is blue not what is
blue is modified? Blue has changed. Yes.
Oh,
So
so
they've
blue is
changed
still
the
a
question.
change. Okay. If a unit, this is blue, if a unit
Oh,
loses a
God.
round of combat and either gives ground or goes, fall back to good order, can it choose to use different weapons in the next turn if the enemy has made a follow-up and pursuit move? No. Even though units separated momentarily, they remain locked in place and engaged in ongoing combat once a follow-up or pursuit move has been made. In other words, because the combat is ongoing, neither unit is able to swap weapon for another. This was previously you could, and they have reversed it, flip-flopped. They're a flip-flopper.
All that they actually took out of this answer is the amount of time it takes to discard a broken lance, for example, I think was actually the sentence. So there's like a little flavorful narrative text in it, which
Yeah.
all then raised questions about like, can you use a lance more than once? It's broken.
Oh.
And then on top of this, we talked about this before as Square Base 2, which is I don't know how much I like this ruling because Fabigo, so a pushback does not count as charging. So like if you follow up after a pushback, it does not count as charging. Fabigo does count as charging.
Yep.
But now we're getting into a place where what does that therefore trigger? Do you get the lance bonus again because you've charged? Do you get other benefits that happen because you've charged? The way we ruled it was we kind of ignored this and we said that only the pushback is an ongoing combat, and we considered like a follow-up in good order, like as in a fresh charge, like it's a new combat. So I think I still feel like that's the way we should rule it. However, maybe going in a little deeper and trying to see some of the nuance that there maybe we're missing on this, like because I think it kind of complicates what should be a pretty straightforward interaction. But I don't know. This one we'll need to deep dive again.
Yeah, I mean, my initial gut feeling is to keep exactly what we said. If you just give ground, then obviously don't count as charging. If you do end up falling back in good order, I think that unit should get the opportunity to get that bonus, which is kind of the point of the combats, right? In my personal opinion, but I understand that people feel like a little divided on this subject. It kind of makes sense to me. I don't know about anyone else. If I saw you running away, we'd charge it down. But you're not charged down. It's still a pretty good place to be. You're not charged down and slaughtered. You're just charged down with an advantage to the pursuing / charging unit.
Yes,
it feels right, but obviously we could talk through that more. Okay, another change in blue then is in challenges, which is if a wizard engaged in a challenge knows and uses an assailment spell that can hit multiple enemy models, such as assailment spells that use a template, are multiple enemy models hit, or is it only the other participant in the challenge that can be hit? When an assailment spell is cast in the challenge, it can only hit the other participant in a challenge. Fine.
That is fine, and I'm not sure what they clarified there. Did they? Yeah, no, I'm not sure what they did change. So yeah. But anyway, moving on.
I'm not mad about that. Next one's you.
The outcome of it is the same, which is a lot of assailment spells are like template weapons, so that's a kind of a bit of a nerf for those. If one participant in a challenge causes impact hits or makes stomp attacks, where are they directed? They are directed against the other participant in the challenge.
Perfect. Which even includes, although I think they cover this in a moment, which is the next one. If one participant in a challenge is killed, can other models engaged in the same combat direct their attacks against the survivor during the same combat phase when it's their turn to fight? Because effectively, because everything in combat happens at initiative steps, I think people were discussing the fact that, that's dead now. Now can I swing? And other stuff was occurring, which it's effectively a pocket dimension of challenge, as being said in the chat.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, there's Schrodinger's combat. It's neither there or not there. Yeah.
So the answer to that is no. Even if one participant in the challenge has been slain, the challenge is considered to be ongoing until the end of the current combat phase. So you can't be doing stomps after, none of those things. So it really clarified that, which I think is nice. I think that's a good clarification.
Yep.
Next one's you, bud.
Where is it? Where are you? Universal special rules?
Yes.
All right, over to USRs. Does the Armorbane X special rule apply to spells cast by a model with the rules such as assailment spells, magic missiles, or magical vortices? The answer? No.
Nope.
So again a really great clarification of when things carry over, because a lot of the magic weapons or even like special rules that a character might have, they're worded so that it would seem that if you had a magic missile, a fireball or something, and you had armor bane, it would seem like your magic missile would get armor bane. So they're clarifying that. That is fantastic.
Yeah, I'm really pro that. I think that's great. The next up carries on, I think, with universal special rules. We keep going. Can a drilled unit redress the ranks before giving ground? Yes, a unit that gives ground is not a fleeing unit, which I think means, well, no, it doesn't mean necessarily for BIGO units are fleeing, but whatever. Note that, as mentioned previously, should any part of a unit cross beyond the edge of the battlefield or whatever it's wiped out, it's intentional that a drilled unit may be able to avoid this fate effectively. Again, drilled just coming in very strong, but it costs you points, and it's only found on the elite units. They're better. They're better.
It's flavorfully elite. If you're a dwarf player right now, I would be running to your book and looking up every single unit that's got drilled, because I think dwarves were probably designed with drilled in mind. Maybe that's one of the reasons why they feel really lame, is because we haven't been playing it right. Do effects that modify a model's movement characteristic also modify how far a model with the Fly X special rule can fly? I asked this question to Peter the Falcon, and he said that, quote, if you were at my tournament, I would give you a yellow card for asking this. So there you go, Pete. It's in the FAQ. The answer is yes. If a model has the Fly X special rule, the number given in brackets is essentially a second movement characteristic. Any effect that modifies one will modify both. Excellent. That was a genuine unanswered question, as is the next one. Excellent answer. Thank you, JTY and company.
Well, the next one, it obviously ties in with this, which is, can a model with two versions Fly X special rule combine both and fly further? No. A model that has more than one version of Fly X uses the best one, obviously, which again is, there's a conversation about just the movement characteristics stacking with fly stacking with itself, a bunch of other stuff, which is all really healthy conversations, because again, many of you or some people will say, oh, we know what the intent is, but we do not. And like Val said at the top of the show, this has given us some idea for some of the other things we might want to ask, what their kind of like thinking is. So yes, ability stack, but actually they've started to clarify some of those ones that shouldn't stack, don't stack. They just missed them out, like we saw with Magic Res. So there we go, which is great. Love that.
And I think as a general philosophy, the one that Rob uses at his events is a good one. Basically, if you're in this, and this is also reminds me a lot of how Reese used to rule on the ITC questions, which is, if there is, a situation where there's a rules interaction that gives a very powerful ability, for example, a model with fly 10, and then you cast the illusion spell on them, Magic Dragon or whatever it is, and now they get another fly 10 characteristic. Does that mean they could fly 20 and then march 40? No, like that. So like your gut will probably guide you to the more conservative answer. And when I think that's the best way we can rule these types of things. And we've noticed in a couple of cases, they haven't taken the most conservative option, which is cool, but really they're the only ones who can do that.
Yeah, you always want to play. Yeah, that's exactly whenever I'm at my events, I always do a briefing at the start and I say, if there is an interpretation you want me to come over and rule on, I will choose the least powerful or the least effective of those interactions, unless for some reason I feel like I know what the answer is. Like if I'm like, actually, there is an answer for that, I'll always do it the other. And that way, and again, shout out to Mark the Beastman, he always gave me this, like whenever you're playing an event for any of the game systems, you always play the worst rule for yourself. So if it does FAQ'd in the positive, you've just got a powerful bonus to your army.
Yes, 100%.
If you play the other way, then immediately your army's been nerfed and it feels less effective. So you've got to be conscious of that in the future. Okay, if a unit with Frenzy or Impetuous has two movement characteristics, for example, it can also fly, does it have to use the greater when determining if it must declare a charge? If it's able to use the greater, then yes, it must. So effectively, you can't refuse to use Swift Stride, which adds pluses to your range, refuse to use Fly. You've got to, again, people trying to trick themselves around Frenzy or Impetuous. If your unit is frenzied or impetuous, it just is going to run around like a lunatic. That's effectively what they're saying in every situation we've seen so far. Everything you're trying to do to stop them do that thing, they are making it happen. So
But what's cool is there's some logical. I think there is some good logic here. We're seeing that if the rule is available to itself, that it like, so for example, if it can fly and it can see over whatever you're blocking it with,
Yeah.
then yeah, like so like a large target with frenzy and fly, you can't move block it, right? Because it can fly over the, like, nice one, guys, I'm gonna go these people up.
Yeah.
You know, like that's like, so that's it. But if it's using other units that aren't frenzied or impetuous to prevent the crazy bloodthirsty morons from charging off and doing things, that's cool. But the unit itself, if they have rules available to them that would enable them to charge or do something, they got to use them. I think that's very reasonable.
I think it's very reasonable. It's great. Yeah, they crave. Someone in the chat said they crave the violence. They hunger for the murder.
If a unit that is subject to frenzy becomes subject to frenzy again, does it get +2 attacks? No. A unit is either frenzied or it isn't. Multiple instances of frenzy are not cumulative. So yeah, does frenzy stack? No. Great.
I honestly, like, while I agree with that, I would have loved the idea that there's like a rage meter. It's like, how frenzied are you? Like, frenzied or real frenzied? Or
frenzy.
Mega frenzy. Exactly. Give me some mega frenzy.
Frenzy combo breaker. Yeah, hell yeah.
Can a unit with the random move special
big,
rule
big.
move around or past an enemy unit out of one arc and into another before making contact with that unit? Which obviously Val has covered a lot on the show already with things like Fanatics and Mangler Squigs, etc. Although Fanatics don't obviously charge. Whilst units that are moved randomly do not declare charges, if you wish to move into contact with an enemy unit, it must fulfill the same criteria as other charging unit. Its movement is detailed on page 126. What I love is yesterday someone asked me this question on Twitter. I replied, and then today they were like, "No, you can't," and I was like, "So it's great." Because this was a common question. I think this is a great decision also.
This is one of those examples that is an errata that should have been errated, which is just changing the rule to say that, you know, like, you must follow the rules on 126, and that's fine. Also, totally reasonable. I don't think there's anything wrong with this. It does, unfortunately, make random movers subject to, like, kind of annoying constraints of how to make a charge, which is you got to go straight to the target. You know, random movers, if they're in skirmish, they don't, like, I guess they don't wheel. Anyway, it doesn't matter. This is very, very basic and simple. You just got to follow the normal rules. If you start your move in the front arc, you got to go to the front arc as directly as possible through terrain, whatever it is. Good to go.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Next one.
And that's it for random movers, I'm pretty sure, by the way. So that's it. Those are the only changes. So random movers have not been nerfed out of the game. They have, like, I was expecting them to get really slapped. They didn't. They're completely reasonable. They give you a lot of play. They've taken the feel bads feeling out of it, which is their ability to, like, bypass a core rule of the game, which is, you know, charging in the arc that you're in. But you know, they still have a tremendous amount of flexibility, and they're awesome. So kudos to the restraint on random movers.
I love that. Next one's you.
How far does a unit with the random movement special rule move when giving ground? All units must move 2 inches when giving ground. There you go.
Great answer. I love that. Thank you. Can 2 regeneration saves be combined together to improve the armor value? No. Armor values give as a target number, cannot be combined to lower the target number. As with ward saves, only a single regeneration save can be attempted, and different regeneration saves cannot be combined together. If a model has more than one regeneration save, simply use the best one, which is nice. Nice that they do let you know you should use the best one. You can't use the worst one.
Yes.
Yeah. But good. Excellent. Good. Nice. Fine. We can move on.
It says, yeah, simply use the best. I think they're making an assumption that you would always want to use the best save. So,
well, there might be a situation, or there might be a situation where, like, I don't know, let's say for some,
you want something to die.
Yeah, you want something to die. Yeah. Right. Because it's an advantage to you. And again, this is the rules are override. Like, it's obviously you do have choices, but this is telling you a lot of the time the rules work first before your choices. Many of it is you don't get to choose.
Yeah. So now we're getting into some stupidity stuff. If a unit with the stupidity special rule fails its leadership test, how long is it stupid for? Units test for stupidity in each of their start of turn phases unless they are engaged in combat. By extension, a unit that fails a stupidity test remains stupid only until it passes a subsequent test.
Love that. That's great. Yeah, good. Fine.
Absolutely fine. Next one, over to you, Rob.
If a unit of skirmishers succumbs to stupidity, in which direction do they move? They should continue moving in the general direction they moved the previous turn, or if they did not move in the previous turn, towards the nearest enemy unit. Good, also excellent, great. Because they don't have a facing, so they can move anywhere, which is good. So that's fine. General direction is a little wishy-washy for me.
I would have loved them to whip out the must move in a random direction.
Oh,
that
really?
Great. Yeah, that would have been cool. Like they just like just go off in some like they just go into the bushes and trip into a ditch. That would have been a cool solution there. Because this one's kind of, I mean, obviously like you figure it out, but like it's still not very specific. They should continue moving in the general direction they moved from the previous turn. Anyway, all good. Good, close enough.
Close enough. Yeah.
Swift stride.
Go on. Carry on. No, you carry on, sir.
Swift stride enables a model to move further during a charge move than its maximum possible charge range. Why is this? Because models with this special rule delight in running down cowards who flee before a charge. I guess I don't. Sure. I don't know why that was a question, and they gave it a I don't know why I'm answering it answer. So that's fine.
I think it's because I'm not sure why, but maybe they just wanted some people just ask this all the time. They were like, but if that's the maximum, why is it going further than the maximum? And that's a fair question. You know, when someone's like, this is the maximum, you're like, but you can go further. Like
that's the maximum you can declare a charge. And that was actually clarified in the first ever FAQ. So
I understand.
Yes, yeah. So,
but I assume lots of people kept asking. They were like, "Okay, fine, all right." Next one is about characters. A character mounted on a ridden monster or chariot. Oh my god, this one's huge. Can choose to use their own or their mount's armor value, whichever is better. If the character if the character wears magic armor, but I chose to use the mount's armor value, can I still claim other benefits conferred by the magic armor? No, you must use magic item fully or not at all. This is the same as like a magic weapon. You equip it. Although I think in a magic weapon, you always have to use a magic weapon. I think.
So, but you can because of very common magic item, like the fact that you can equip more than one magic weapon now.
Yes.
The question was, does that mean that if I have the cheap flaming sword, but I have like a really expensive awesome sword, does my awesome sword now have flaming too? The answer is no, sucker.
Yeah. Now this is a big deal. This is a really big deal because this is basically this is the death knell for the imagined dragon / large monster meta, where you could be using the whatever was the appropriate good save into the attack that was coming in. So you either use one or use the other, so that like in some situations maybe the armor value was better. In some situations, like not picking anyone out of the hat, but re-rolling wounds was a better choice. Now that you have to choose one or the other, and that's good. That's a good change because again, I think those things maybe need looking at a little bit because there's some feels badsy, maybe not necessarily the strongest, but definitely feel badsy.
Yeah. And this is also clarifying too when rules confer, right? Because it's really unclear, and it only rears its head in the nitty gritty when you're really trying to make those combos and like do like what you think is cool shit. Like that's where the stuff comes up. Because this next one too also helps clarify a few things. If a character mounted on a ridden monster or chariot carries a shield or armor or anything else that improves armor value, does that improve the mount's armor value? No, a shield is carried by the character, not the mount. So where this gets like super confusing, and actually I screwed this up like in the beginning, is the mount will often have an inherent armor save. So a chariot, for example, the Black Orc chariot, I was looking at this the other day, 3-up armor save, baller AF, right? The orcs themselves would, I presumably have something different to that. But if you throw a Black Orc, like, I don't know, a Black Orc war boss on that chariot, then they're going to have their own armor save. That's probably going to be higher. If, like, say you have a great weapon, or anyway, it's going to have a different armor save. They don't stack. They're not conferring to one another. Sometimes you'll have a mount that has something like scaly skin, or something
hide.
that adds, or armored hide. It's a different style of rule, which actually does add to armor value. I'm pretty sure. I'm even saying this and questioning myself. So I think there are ones that do improve, like stack with the armor value of the rider. And in this case, it does not. It doesn't go the other way.
Yeah. I think
Clear as mud. I'd have to go deeper dive on that. But
Yeah.
I do think there are some that do stack, but this particular case does not.
I think, again, going up to the no, you must use a magic item fully or not at all, is going to require like a conversation, stacking it together. And I think we can make an infographic on this in the future for people, which will be a little bit clearer, because the wordage on that is a little bit difficult, because you have to see where the problem lies to understand the solution. But we will try to cover that in, like, even if we just make a graphic and something that makes a little bit more sense to help people out. Okay. If a warband character joins a unit that isn't a warband, does the unit's rank bonus modify their leadership characteristic? No, Mark, it doesn't. Okay, excellent. That's good. Basically, if you put like a general who's leadership 8 into a warband unit, then obviously adds their leadership, does then your general now have an aura of leadership 10? No, that doesn't work. So that's what that's saying.
So yeah, that also I think feels like an errata, that both the character and the unit need to have warband for it to work, is essentially what they're saying there.
Yeah.
And not clear right now. Right now, I think that's not an unfair question. If you were to read the rule book, you'd think it would work that way. Some magic weapons or special rules allow specific models within a unit to be targeted. This is fascinating. Do such attacks ignore the lookout sir rule?
No, they don't.
What?
No.
So sniping doesn't. So literally, you can't snipe.
So what we're talking about,
like
the Waywatcher arrow, right? Is that what we're talking about?
Things that allow you to target specific models within a unit. So if you're a character within a unit, same unit type, all that stuff, you get a 2-up.
So far, okay. I mean, fine. Like, fine.
Exactly. But I mean, I don't see why you would think that they would get a lookout circle. This is a straight, this is another buff to character safety. They're doing a lot, again, intention, right? They're doing a lot to protect, independent characters on foot. Small characters, yeah. They're doing a lot to protect the small characters, making them hard to shoot at, target, pick out. And that is clearly the intent. They want them to not be punkable, which is fine. Okay, that's the way they want it.
Especially in a world that, because I think it's fair to say a lot of conversation around like having a character on a monster is more effective than having a character on foot. So effectively, gearing stuff towards characters on foot being more useful and survivable and then trying to change how characters on mounts are less effective, then that's a positive, right? I think that's a good way to go. Okay, next up, weapons of war. Do special rules conferred by a model's weapon apply to attacks made by that model's mount? It's a really fair question because I think there's a really good conversation about how special rules interact with the whole kind of being that is a model, mount included. No, any rules conferred by a weapon, be it magical or mundane, apply not only to the attacks made by that weapon. This can include, but not is limited to, rules unique to a specific type of weapon, special rules that apply to a particular weapon, or special rules that apply to a magic weapon. For example, if a wizard is armed with a sword of swiftness, attacks made by that weapon have the strike first special rule, but the wizard cannot claim that wielding the weapon allows them to cast assailment spells at initiative 10. To give another example, if a model has a special rule unique to its faction that grants additional rules to a hand weapon, if the crew of an orc boar chariot have the chopper special rule, for example, that rule only applies to the actual hand weapon carried by the rider or the chariot crew, not the weapon belonging to the mount or draft animals that count as a hand weapon. Now, this is what Tobias brought up, like very, very early into the reading of how these things work, where conferred rules from a special weapon then apply to the entire piece, and now that isn't going to be the case, which is good in my opinion.
So the reason that is that with combined profiles and ridden monsters, they become the model, right? And then a lot of these weapons say the model. They've changed in a lot of places. They're adding the bearer, which is clearer. But so again, this is a very legitimate question of where do special rules confer? They have cleared it up. They have taken the more conservative approach with it. I think it's awesome. This is a huge clarification. Again, this makes list writing so much clearer. You're not on uneven ground with, can I do this cool combo or not? Fantastic.
The only argument I have though is, were I to be a beast of burden, a dragon, etc., and then atop me was some character being ridden, and then they carried the sword, and then if I was to overhear them saying things like, "I bear this sword," I'm like, "No, bitch, I bear you and the sword.
I'm bearing you, bitch."
That would be my only point.
Isn't the mount wielding the rider in some respect? I mean, we justice for mounts, okay?
Justice for mounts.
We need absolutely. So yeah, I think great clarification. Again, a real, true, unanswered question from the rules. Not necessarily from the rules. I think the rules are pretty clear as to how raw would work, but definitely not what I think how they meant for them to work, which is great. We now know their intention. Some monsters have weapons with notes that state they must make or may choose to make one attack or one additional attack with that weapon in combat. Can they make more than one attack with such weapons? No. If it is noted on the weapon's profile that the model may or must make a specific number of attacks with that weapon, normal attacks or otherwise, that's how many attacks it makes with that weapon. And I am pretty sure everywhere, most monsters will have like their sharp claws and then like a whippy tail or like a pincer claw. And like it usually says something like the model must make or may make an attack with this weapon. Some people are like Mikey got into over on Hellstrom Wargaming, got into it with the Necrosphinx because he read it as you equip that weapon and he could make all of his attacks with the like monster strength 10 killing blow giant tail. I think clearly the intention would be that you make an attack. I'm not sure about Gorgons, but anyway, there are different places where I feel like that they broke down in consistency on how they word that.
I agree.
I think this is sort of a blanket attempt to sort of nip that in the bud.
Which is good. That's a good step to take. A cannon model armed with two hand weapons choose to fight with one hand weapon. I like this answer, actually. Yes, as noted on page 2113, unless stated otherwise, all models are assumed to be equipped with a hand weapon. A model with two hand weapons, by definition, and may choose to fight with just one, forgoing the extra attacks plus one special rule in favor of some other benefits. Many books have got some sort of special rule with just attacking with your hand weapon, but as soon as you take an additional hand weapon, you lose that benefit. In Sorcerer Weapons is a good example. So that's quite nice. You could choose between... Go on.
Or even just a shield. Like if like using I don't know how sometimes that second hand weapon grade is an ore, so you can have the additional hand weapon or a shield. So if this is something that's interesting, you got to read closely in your books and see is it an or is it an and? Because you could have an additional hand weapon and a shield, and then if you want more defense, you can drop the additional hand weapon.
I like that answer though. Next question.
So, when can a model use a lance? During any turn in which it charged or counts as having charged. So here you go. There's that Fabigo question with lances and stuff. That we were talking about before. That's a little problematic. So yeah, you get your charge bonus when you count as having charged,
which is great. Love that. Can a missile weapon be used in combat? No.
Okay.
That's
cool.
fine. That's fine. War machines.
Can a cannon be shot in such a way as to hit an enemy unit that is engaged in combat with a friendly unit? Oh, cannons. No. Page 143 of the rulebook makes it clear that except in rare cases, units cannot shoot enemy units that are engaged in combat. In the case of a cannon, this means that the target point cannot be placed in such a way as to risk the cannonball hitting a friendly unit or an enemy unit engaged in combat with a friendly unit. So that means that basically, from the point where you land the cannonball, you cannot have a combat occurring 20 inches past that point.
No. And also, and importantly, this is canon now.
Good one, bro. Also, and importantly, if you do... There's a lot of canon that they have brought in these facts, but cannons are suffering. They're suffering for their past misgivings. But if you want to shoot into combat or do damage into ongoing combats, you're just going to be restricted to fanatics, vortex spells, and a number of other situations that beam spells. The ones that are just lasers. There's lots of ways to shoot into combat these days. So unfortunately, though, cannons, not you, buddy.
Yeah, an explosive reading. Can a war machine shoot using the ballistic skill of a character that has joined it? No, because a war machine and its crew are treated as a single model. You must use the crew's ballistic skill, which is kind of in reference to also what we talked about earlier with like a character going on a mount, etc.
Yep.
Warhammer armies.
You cannot improve ballistic skill of a shooting unit with the character taken over. Warhammer armies. If my opponent, I have agreed to play a 2,000 point game. This is a weird clarification, but yeah, I get where it comes from. But my army is not exactly 2,000 points. It's 1997 points, for example. Can I take 2 of something limited to 0 to 1 per 1,000 points by the army composition list I'm using? Yes. Such limitations are based on the size of the game you are playing rather than the exact points value of your army. Hence, why some people limit it to 1999. Because that's the cutoff to unlock that extra 0 to 1 choice per 1,000 points. But yeah, this confused some people. Not a bad clarification. Next.
Not bad. Does an allied contingent have to abide by the restrictions given in the army composition list it's drawn from? The answer is yes, which is wild. An allied contingent is a small army within a larger army made using Grand Army or Army of Infamy composition list. Within a 2,000 points army, for example, an allied contingent of 500 points would have to spend at least 125 points on core units, could spend no more than 250 points on characters, and would be unable to include any units limited 0.1 to 1,000 points. Pretty restrictive.
Yes, so that's good. That is a good hard restriction on it. Again, this is how it reads in the book. This is how I definitely interpreted the Allied rules. Great clarification for those who want to use allies. I do worry that it might encourage adoption of allies, which I think makes for a lot of boring metas. But who knows? Maybe as the game evolves, we'll come to the light on allies. I don't know. But yeah, at the very least, there are more restrictions on allied armies, for example, than there are on just regular S armies. So that's good.
Yeah, I'm pro mercenary, anti-ally. That's my general events at the moment.
You're a non-ally of allies.
Yeah, I'm a foe. The laws of magic. If a unit upon which the earth and this is all Val. I'm going to let him answer this because he knows. If a unit upon which earth and ramparts has been cast is obliged to declare a charge, if the unit is frenzied or impetuous, for example, must it do so even though it can't make a charge move? Earth and ramparts does not prevent a unit from declaring a charge. It prevents it from charging. In other words, yes, a unit must declare a charge if obliged to do so. However, because the unit cannot charge, it does not move and the charge is failed. I'm just going to point out that Frenzy adds +1 attack, and +1 attack is a wild stat to give to a unit versus
sure is
it's like one of the craziest stats you can give someone because almost everyone's 1 attack, so that's wild. So there is a massive negative to having a frenzied unit, and it's that you always be charging.
ABC,
yeah,
always be charging. ABC, baby,
ABC. So this is good. This is a good clarification, in line with literally every other through line.
And also, I think for folks out there, this also is saying though that you can use Earthen Ramparts to control your frenzied unit. Basically what you'd be forgoing is their regular move. Mm-hmm. So a friend Earthen Ramparts can't march or charge, but they can still move. So that's what you'd be losing. But if you wanted to just park your frenzied unit and maybe take a charge, definitely still works as a means of controlling it. Again. It's adding a restriction from outside the unit. The logic holds. That's what's holding them back. They still try, but they're being held back and prevented from being able to do it. Yeah. Can a unit upon which Earthen Ramparts has been cast make a countercharge reaction? Charge reaction. Charge. No, a unit that countercharge counts as having charge. Therefore, countercharge is a charge. I won't say that again. A unit that countercharges counts as having charge. Therefore, a countercharge is a charge. Charge.
Okay, so I honestly don't think I know what the answer is there. I'm but good.
The answer is no.
No. Can the spell Spectral Doppelganger from the Law of Illusion be used with a magic weapon that allows the wielder to make only a single attack? That's right, Scott and the rest of the Triple Crown Wargaming crew. No, right? You can't. Weapons limited to a single attack can only inflict a single hit. But that was a cool combo. I want to shout out. I love that combo, by the way, boys. Love you guys. You're great.
I don't think what specifically were they combining? Were they just doing like Ogre Blade or Monster Slayer?
Monster Slaying Sword.
So Monster Slaying Sword doesn't restrict you to single attack. It attacks at the profile of the character. I feel like this is very specific. This must be to a very specific weapon combination where it's like you get one super hit. You know what I mean?
Oh, the D6, the D6 damage.
Like
the D6
the bearer
damage
may
attack.
make one.
There's the weapon that does D6.
I'm not sure. Like there's
the Empire Mace.
Magic weapon that allows people to make only a.
The Mace of Hellstrom.
Okay, there you go. So this is so the general combination still works. So Monster Slayer with
I retract.
Lore of Illusion or
sorry guys, you're the best.
Any number of other ones.
Yeah, I retract. You guys are the best.
I apologize to jump on you there, Robbo. It's just that is still a very powerful combination. No.
And not one that they've nerfed, even thinking about what's going on with the mace. They're like, no mace, but Monster Killer, let's go.
Everything else, you can get up to 12 attacks with it. No problem. That automatically hit, which is the equivalent of probably like 24 attacks. It's cool. All right. Do we still have more?
We've only got one more, bud. One more. Would you want to take us out? Take us out.
Sure. I'm just going to let the internet stabilize a moment. Some models can be found in one faction's army list that can be included in this is great. That can be included in an army made using a composition list belonging to a different faction. Dragon Ogre Shaggoths, for example, can be found in the Beastman Brayherd's army list, but can be taken in an army made using the Warriors of Chaos Grand Army composition list and their future armies and infamy. What list of magic items do such models have access to? Models can purchase magic items from the list of common magic items in the Warhammer The Old World rule book, or from their own faction's list of magic items. A Dragon Ogre Shaggoth, for example, can purchase items from the I can't read this from the common Beastman Brayherd magic items lists.
Basically, if you have a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth in a Warriors army,
so
you get the items from Beastman Brayherd and also common items, but not Warriors of Chaos ones, which I love, by the way. I think this is very good. This is very fun.
That also means that if you're a Black Orc in a Chaos Dwarf army, you're picking from the O&G's list of items. That's sick. And mercenaries and stuff can only access the common items.
Yeah, I love that, right? Isn't that cool? Yeah, I think that's a fun narrative choice. I'm like, fun.
Yeah, that also opens up a lot of I don't know how many crossover units there are. Those are two I can think of: Dragon Ogre Shaggoth and Black Orcs. I'm sure there might be a few others that are shared. In the Armies of Infamy for Bretonia, they can bring Inner Circle Knights and stuff. So yeah, there's some crossover appeal. So you can bring your own banners from your home book. Neat. I'm in.
So next up, now that's the core ones. Now we're going to go through the Forces of Fantasy and also the Ravening Hordes errata that we've got here, and we'll just start from the top. Errata, talking about Steam Cannon. Add the following to the Steam Cannon notes. This weapon does not have a 360 line of sight. It can only shoot into the Steam Tank's front arc. Perfect and good.
Yep, they're from 8th edition fantasy, but I'm sure it's not that big a deal. When Laurels of Victory, change the second paragraph. When determining your combat result, each unsaved wound caused by an attack made by the bearer of the Laurels of Victory, but not their mount, is worth 2 combat results points rather than the usual 1. So again, removing the mount from that interaction.
Mm-hmm. Wizard Staff, add the following to the Wizard Staff: 0 per 1 per wizard. Can't have, although it would look hilarious, 4 Wizard Staffs, but still funny to think about.
That'd be dope. Or like that. Who was the robot in Star Wars who had 4 lightsabers? I mean, that's kind of neat.
Grievous, Gandalf Grievous.
Knightly virtues change basically to represent this. Some models may be given a knightly virtue. A virtue does not affect a model's mount. Should it have one, each virtue may only be chosen once per army. I'm pretty sure, again, that's just the clarification on the mounts.
Love that. Next up is combat result bonus. A unit in lance formation with a unit strength of 5 or more may claim a bonus of +1 combat result point. Nice. Giving them that, because I think they lacked that previously, which is good, making them a little bit better in combat.
That actually might also be modifying just the clarification on close order, getting the changing it to unit strength instead of models.
Oh, yeah.
So
that's a good point.
So now like a lance of 3 models now can still have a combat result point. Elven honors. Change the second paragraph of Elven honors as follows. To represent this, some characters may be given an Elven honor. Each honor gives the character certain benefits in the form of unique equipment and additional special rules. An honor does not affect the model's mount. Okay, big shocker there. Cool.
Good. We love that.
Basically, the stuff doesn't go to the dragon. You do not give the dragon the extra stuff.
And the FAQ stuff is...
There are FAQs.
Is this new? New stuff. It is all new. Okay. Empire of Man.
It's all new. It's all new, baby.
And our unsaved wounds caused by...
Go ahead.
Are unsaved wounds caused by the mount of a model bearing the laurels of victory worth 2 combat points? No, the unsaved wounds caused by the bearer of rider counts 1. We covered that already.
Great. Kingdom of Bretonnia. Can a Bretonian army pray for the blessing of the lady if it includes an allied contingent? Yes. Note, however, that an allied contingent of Bretonians taken as part of any other army cannot pray. In order for Bretonians to pray, the army they are part of must have the blessings of the lady rule, which are only Kingdom of Bretonian armies have. Interesting. So it's yes, but no. Yes. Note, however, that an allied contingent of Bretonians taken as part of any other army cannot pray. Okay. Cool. But if you have an allied contingent of non-Bretonians, the army they are part of must have so it's the army, the overall army has to have blessing of the ladies. Cool. All right, next up, how does a bolt thrower work when shooting at a unit in lance formation? The number of models hit is based on the number of ranks overall. By the way, buckle up because Lance is about to get wrecked by these next 2 rulings. Sorry to interrupt. Continue.
For example, a lance of 6 knights at range of ranks of 1 or 2 and 3 models would suffer 3 hits. With a lance is shot in its flank by a bolt thrower, the number of hits is based on the widest file. To continue the example above, 3 models would be hit based on the depth of the unit, which seems to make a lot of sense.
It'd be cool if they got the best possible situation in both of those, because Lance, from what I can tell, has no benefit. Because, do you get to read the good one? Oh, you do. All right, so I get this one. If a character whose mount has a different size base to the models in a unit making up a lance formation wishes to join that unit, where should I place the model? The lance formation offers a bit more flexibility than other formations. For example, it is perfectly acceptable to place a character such as a duke or baron at the front of the lance, should you wish. In the case of a handmaiden of the lady, the shield of the lady special rule allows such a model to be placed at the rear of such units. Alternatively, they can be placed within the unit. In this case, the extra base size will make very little difference to the shape of the unit. Okay, maybe. Basically, you can put them anywhere is the answer, which is weird, but okay.
Fine. Also, they haven't released the lady with the foot out yet. What's going on? Like,
they need to, because she's a meta changer.
That's my FAQ right there. Okay, next up. When a unit in lance formation is engaged in combat, every model on the outside counts as being in base combat. How many enemy models count as being in base combat with a lance? The full fighting rank. When a lance charges in, it pierces deep into the enemy formation, causing enemy lines to close around it. It's very hard to show this on the table, though, hence the abstraction. So everyone's swinging. Yikes.
Yeah. So the way it read was actually quite inconclusive. It was hard to tell which way they were going to go. Birds chirped in my ear that it was actually going to be the exact opposite of this, that they would be in base contact with one model. No. Bretonian, get wrecked. So this, I still don't understand why Lance is good at this point. I didn't understand before, and now I really don't understand. Note that this can create an area of dead ground between a lance and a unit. A unit is engaged in combat with. If any enemy units are, there's a little bit more at the end here.
Caught within this, refer to the rules covering accidental contact on page 131. So it's like a no man's land where we consider there to be models in abstraction, but there aren't models like in reality, and so you got to use. And again,
Yeah.
because of the nature of, I know everyone who's watching this is a big fan of squares and everything like that, but unfortunately, because of the nature of how it works, there has to be abstraction, like in many cases. So just go with your vibes on that and try to just deal with it.
We got some Bretonnian defenders here pointing out my ignorance. Lance still lets us stack rank bonus and wide fighting rank. That's true. So that's true because you have less models in each of the front ranks. You are getting a very wide fighting rank and the benefit of extra ranks. So cool. All right.
And also looks cool.
Oh, looks cool. I think that's most of it. So shall we go to Wood Elf Realms? Oh, it's me. The Hawk-Eyed Archer rule allows a way. Yeah, Wood Elf Realms. The Hawk-Eyed Archer rule allows a Waystalker to target any enemy character he can draw a line of sight to, and to target specific models within an enemy unit. Does this apply to magic items that allow them to cast a magic missile? No, the rule applies only to their Azrai longbow. Hawkeye may be, but that does not mean they can snipe at enemy characters with powerful spells bound into magic items. That is fair. Again, when does a rule confer? They're clarifying it. Does not confer there.
Good.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. Can a Wood Elf Realms army place an additional wood using the Woodland Ambush rule if it includes an allied condition? Yes. Note, however, that an allied contingent of Wood Elves taken as part of any other army cannot, in order for Wood Elves to gain an extra wood, the army they are must be part of a Woodland Ambush, which only Wood Elf Realms armies have. Good, because forests are annoying.
No, but allied contingent of Wood Elves taken as part of any other army cannot. Okay, cool. So the yes, no's on those are complicated, but who cares? Don't use allies. All right. The bow in organized events in your garage, playing with friends, pick up games that you've arranged and talked about, thematic, all kinds of fun stuff with allies. At events, I still think a no-go in our current format. The Bow of Lauren allows a Wood Elf character to make a number of shots equal to their attack characteristic. How does this interact with enchanted arrows? When firing an enchanted arrow, it is assumed the model firing only once, as is the norm. Therefore, one of the shots fired from the Bow of Lauren can be made using an enchanted arrow. The other shots are resolved using ordinary, not enchanted arrows. Interesting ruling. Could only come from the top. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
That's a weird one.
Finally, High Elf Realms. Can a wizard with a warden of Safri Elven honor purchase a magic armor? And the answer is no. Good.
9. All right, cool. All right, let's get over to them ravening hordes.
Okay, first up.
Speed running here.
Yeah.
Old Val's got a date in 15 minutes.
Okay. We got Gigantic Spider. Add move through cover to the Gigantic Spider's list of special rules. Good. Chaos Steed. Add countercharge, which is good. Hell Cannon. They've changed the base size, or they've clarified the base size, most importantly. Base 77 gives a chaos to represent these.
Yeah, what was it before? Do you remember off the top of your head?
What the Hell Cannon was.
Like, what was the difference on the base size? Do you remember?
It's gone up. It's gone up, I think. It's 100 by 150.
Because originally,
now.
like back in the day, it was 100 by 150. Yeah, cool. Yeah, cool.
I think it's gone up.
Sorry to interrupt.
It's okay. And then, I just thought those were just like nothing burgers. I just smashed through those. And the next one is Gifts of Chaos. Change the second paragraph of Gifts of Chaos as follows. To represent these strange attributes, some characters may be given Gifts of Chaos. A gift does not affect the character's mount, should they have one. Each gift may only be chosen once per army. It's pretty cool. I like that a lot. I think that's good. Again, mounts not to get the good thing. Do you want to do the next one?
Sure. This is a really cool one. Slaughterer's Call. Change the rule to, if this model becomes frenzy as a result of the Blood Rage special rule, any unit it is joined will also become frenzied. Awesome. So there it is. The frenzy is contagious in the situation of Slaughterer's Call.
Yeah, that's good. And the next one
Chaos
is
Mutations. Change the second paragraph of Chaos. Go ahead.
You go. Sorry.
Oh, I think we're getting a little lag here because there's a little pause. Chaos Mutations. Change the second paragraph of Chaos Mutations as follows. I bet you this doesn't apply to the mount. To represent these strange attributes, some models may be given Chaos Mutations. A mutation does not affect a model's mount, should it have one. Each mutation may only be chosen once per army.
Love that. Great. Excellent. And the final one is... Oh, no, there's more than that. Sorry. We've got Arcane Journal, Orcs and Goblin Tribes, Battle and Ogres. Under options, change the cost of upgrading one model to a Crusher to 7 points, whatever. Frequently asked questions. Orcs and Goblin tribes. If a unit of the Night Goblin is engaged in combat, still contains any unreleased fanatics, can they be released whilst the unit is engaged? Provided they can be placed within 3 inches of their concealing unit and not touching the bases of other models. Yes, Val, you are killing me with this. Boo.
Probably literally. Also, real great opportunity to take some edge off of fanatics. They went through. They got to the fork in the road, and they went straight. I completely missed this page when I read this the first time. So this is sick. These are hot takes. I did not see any of these.
Okay, if a fanatic's move into contact with a unit that's engaged in combat, does it hit the unit that it's engaged with as well? When a fanatic moves into contact with another unit, it continues its straight line until it can be placed back on the battlefield. Any units that line passes through are hit. Units the line does not pass through are not hit.
Correct. They thought about it and they chose tremendous amounts of very harsh violence. So that's funny. As a Night Gobbo player, that is hilarious. Massive opportunity to take the edge off of fanatics. They say no.
JTY at home right now, just sipping on a whiskey, just staring at the 12 fanatics on his shelf. He's like, "Don't worry, lads, I got you.
I got you. I got your back, boys." All goblins fear elves. If a unit of elves causes fear, does this lead them to cause terror in goblins? No. Get wrecked. Okay. Wow. Like that is just friggin' Matrix moving through the hard targeted fierce FAQs at Orcs and Goblins. We passed them all with flying colors. Hell yeah, Warriors of Chaos, let's go.
Yeah. If a character with a mark of Nurgle, for example, is mounted on a chariot with a mark of Chaos Undivided, does this chariot benefit from the character's mark, or do I have to pay for the points to give it the Nurgle mark? If you want the chariot mount to have the same benefit as the mark of Chaos as its rider, you have to pay the points for the chariot the mark of Chaos. That makes a load of sense.
Oh,
perfect.
Cool.
Can the Hagtree Fetish be used? This is for Beastmen Prayer Herds to reroll wounds caused by a bound spell. No. Bound spells are cast by the item they are bound to, whilst the arcane items such as Hagtree Fetish affect spells cast by the bearer. Therefore, unless an item specifies, which is fine. Like, that's a good change, probably. That was a bit of a problem.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. It was a bit over the top. Tomb Kings of Khemri, can a Necrosphinx make more than one attack each turn with his... Oh, here he is! Can a Necrosphinx make more than one attack each turn with his decapitating strike? Mikey, no. No. The decapitating strike profile must be used as noted to make one additional attack. That is not how it's noted, but no problem. You cannot do that more than once, obviously.
No, Mikey, you can't. But also, and importantly, we didn't write it that way the first time, so fair question. The crew of a Tomb Guard chariot are equipped with shields. Does this improve the arm value of the model from 4+ to 3+? No, chariots, as we've talked about, have a 4+. You don't improve it via that way, which we talked about previously as well. Finally, thank you to unnamed creator for they did also in the downloadable PDFs for the Legend/Renegade factions, they changed some things, and someone has been.
We might be accidentally outing him here.
You can't see.
There's an email on the screen. There's an email on the in the beginning.
Oh, but that's fine. Okay, hold on. Well, Ben, I think it's Ben. Shout out to Ben. You've done great work. So what he did was he compared the two different PDFs, and then he brought out all of the changes in a document. This is easily one of the most comprehensively successful pieces of annotation I've seen on Games Workshop work before, and makes me wonder why Games Workshop themselves won't do it. But whatever. Ben is the best. Love Ben.
So yeah, Ben basically compared the old and the new and found where there are differences. The thing is, here's what I love, and this is maybe getting a little tinfoil hat here. Maybe this is SDS setting themselves up for phantom changes to the legacy armies in the future, because if they never mark the changes, there's a chance that no one there ever notices or cares. Just saying. I don't know. Maybe a little conspiracy theory there. But if they always look the same, they can be like, it's the same. What? You think someone in the main studio is going to go check the other PDF, which they no longer have or ever read? Impossible. So this is it. This is them signaling to old Val Don't worry, we're going to update these PDFs.
Yeah, I think also the
so
fact
we've
that they've
lost
done.
360 degrees for this.
Sorry, I was just going to say the fact that they've done anything is a massive kind of boon. And don't forget, the scope has increased.
Oh,
Scope.
scope has changed.
Scope has changed.
We got scope creep, folks. We got scope creep.
Chaos Dwarfs. Last sentence is new. No 360 line of sight for the Iron Demon Steam Cannonade. So good.
There you go. Same as the Empire Steam Tank. Looks good to me. Can we scroll down a little bit for the Dark Elves?
Sure. Dark Elves. We've got Doomfire Warlocks. Poison attacks. Brackets are new. No poisonous horses. Nice.
There you go. Just clarifying about the mount interaction there. I'm just following along on Twitch, so I can only see what Twitch sees.
Okay, well, I'll try to keep it up. I'll read it out. Blood armor.
Yeah, you go. You take us home, Rob. Take us home.
Thanks, buddy. I'll run it through. Blood armor, which is a type of armor. First sentence is new. No blood armor on dragon riders. So effectively, this is especially one that's come up recently. You can keep improving the rend of like the armor save of a dragon to stupid degrees with blood armor, but that is no longer applicable. Doesn't work. Great change. That's actually taking something that was a real negative. Cursing word, which is also, again, this is all Dark Elf stuff. They had 3 changes, which is pretty significant. The Cursing Word, the spell, now reduces characteristic by 1 instead of 2-1. Hugo, big nerf. Yeah. So the ballistic skill has basically been changed.
Dark elves are right now in one of the, like, probably alongside Skaven as somewhat considered to be maybe the least good armies out there. So any nerf to those armies sucks, and they get a couple in this document. So let's continue.
Demons of Chaos got 3 changes. They got 1 to Chaos Armor. The last sentence is new, where new clarification: Demons of Chaos demon can cast in armor, which is similar to what it is in Warriors of Chaos. On page 27, demonic gifts and icons. Demonic gifts do not affect mounts, which is exactly what we're also seeing from Warriors of Chaos. Some of the wording change to no mechanical effect. The Aether Blade changed as well. Hand weapon only used to say demon attack, which could be shooting attacks and all sorts. So effectively, no armor saves are permitted against wounds caused by this demon's hand weapon, but now it's hand weapon only, not shooting attack, which is, we love that as well. And then also... Demonic robes used to be.
We need to commission Louise for this one.
Okay, Louise might want to paint this up. Demonic robes. The demon is clad in shimmering robes that reflect both the colors of the rainbow and the fury of incoming blows. It's been changed to the demon is clad in... That's the original. The demon is clad in shimmering robes that deflect the fury of incoming blows. So no longer are they in a shimmering robe of colors of the rainbow. Awkward.
Wonder why.
Because the old world is not.
I don't know. That could go either way. Maybe they were worried. Maybe they were worried that is casting an aspersion. Maybe they were worried about the opposite read of that, rather than it being like a removal or a cancellation. Maybe they didn't want to do it the other way. Who knows? Could go either way. It is funny though. It is a funny minor change.
Now I'm painting a rainbow demon army. And I'm just going to be like, what do you think, Games Workshop? What do you think? Lizardmen have had 5 changes.
This one's pretty big.
5 changes.
This one's big.
And this really lets me know if you're someone who is in constant conversation with Games Workshop over some of these items, don't be. Because if you have an army you ask questions about, they'll answer them and ruin your army. So don't talk to them. Ignore them. That's what I would do. Pete, 5 changes. Slam Mage Priest has now become a monstrous creature, used to be monstrous infantry, and gained close order, which means he's, I think, lost 360 line of sight, potentially. Which is a problem. Now is obviously targetable, can't be like blocked by other creatures and stuff. So that's a nerf to the Slan Mage Priest. Yikes. The Skink Chief.
He's not a large target. Yeah, he is a large target. Oh boy. So yeah, this is too bad for the big Slan. But oh well, I guess.
Yeah, that's huge, is what they say now about the Slan. He's big. The Skink Chief has got a new asterisk on his poison attacks. No poisonous pterodons or stegies. So you can't confer the poison attack onto the whole thing, which is obviously consistent, as Val said. Chameleon Skinks, the Chameleon Skink champion was listed as strength 4, clearly a typo, and is now removed and is back to strength 3. So the people that went out and bought 70 Skink Chiefs, what were you doing? That's a great question. And page 20, Arcane Vassal.
Playing in uncomped formats.
Yeah. An Arcane Vassal. This last sentence in italics is new, clarifying self-spells cannot use Arcane Vassal. So that's the change there. Self-spells can't use Arcane Vassal. That's cool. I agree with that. Monsoon.
The great monsoon debate has been solved.
Finally, it's 15-inch range. 12 inches was a typo. People over the world happy with the deluge of answers. Typhoon, deluge. Thank you. Thank you.
Man, you're getting better with time.
Ogre Kingdoms, no changes.
He's warmed up, folks.
Perfect as they are, in my opinion. I agree.
Rob's been working on some ogre tech recently. I've been getting screen cap lists from Rob again lately. It's it's wonderful. Can't wait to play him on Warhol. Let's go. Skaven, 5 changes. Oh no.
The Ashen Master Assassins used to have Scout, no longer. Okay, page 12. Giant rats. Maximum size is 30 instead of unlimited, which is, I think, good. Weapon skill and strength reduced to 1. A huge nerf.
By one. Yeah.
2-1.
Weapon skill 2 is brutal.
2-2.
Weapon skill 2 is brutal. And but are these guys swarms? No, they're war beasts. Oh well, who cares? Sorry, giant rats, but it's not good to be a rat these days.
It's not.
In the old world.
Yeah, I'm not sure. The Fellblade. Kev is in shambles. I agree. Shout out to Kev, who played Skaven this weekend. Absolute treasure. I know it's an FAQ show. I know we don't have much time, but I just need to bring this up. Kev, just this old fella, absolute babe, played 1 billion Skaven. All of the flags were painted individually. So good. And my favorite thing, Kev, every time the Help It would die and he would be giddy, he'd be like, let's turn into giant rats at us. And I was like, Kev, how you feeling? He's like, over the moon. Over the moon. He's the best. Right, anyway, the Fellblade. The strength 10 reduced to strength +3. Yikes. Restricted infantry only. Oof. Command Sunfires, you have to self-stab D3. Used to say D6. So the negative's not as harsh, but the bonus not as strong. And
the negative is way harsher.
Yeah. Oh, wait.
The negative is twice as harsh.
Command Sunfires self-stab D3. Used to say D6.
So on a roll of a 1 on a D6, that's 18% of the time. Now it's 33% of the time.
Oh,
I
see.
So now on a roll of a one or two does it instead of just 1.
Kev's in the chat. Let's go, Kev.
Yep. Get wrecked. Also, this is a 100-point item, so I think it should be fine. What? How do you nerf a 100-point item? How? Why? Why would you nerf a 100-point item? It's 100 points. Just let them have it.
Someone from
it doesn't
the
even have AP.
Someone from the main studio found out people were buying Skaven models for Old World, and they were livid.
Oh, no armor, ward, or regeneration saves are permitted against wounds caused by this weapon. So that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Still 100 points though.
Yes, good. Okay, right. So
pretty good.
The
Warpstone
armor. Text clarified that wizards can purchase it. No mechanical change. So same as other stuff that we've seen. And then Verminous Valor can't Verminous Valor in a challenge. So get wrecked. Get wrecked.
Yep. That was big. That actually is really nice that they covered that. Verminous Valor was very confusing as to when it could actually be used, because if you could use it to if it involved a Gyno challenge, it was quite problematic. And just like how to conceptually do that, because again, challenges are Schrodinger's combat. Like they don't really exist anywhere. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Let's move on.
I agree. Okay, finally, not finally, vampire counts. Oh no, it's finally 4 changes. Let's go. James Ramsey in terror right now. What's going to happen? To represent their variant attributes, some models may be given. Oh wait, this is page 23. The middle sentence is new. Vampiric powers don't affect mounts. Consistent with everything we've seen so far. Okay. Next up, page 25. The accursed armor. Those brackets are new. Can't go to 0 weapon skill or weapon skill 1, which is the brackets are new. I'll read out the
minimum
ability.
of 1 is a common.
Oh yeah, that's it. You can only go to a minimum of 1. Okay. Can't go to 0, which is good. Page 28, the newly dead.
You can't debuff someone to death.
which is good. These brackets are new. They can't grow zombie units to above 40 models. When resurrecting the Fallen, a unit with a special rule can be taken beyond its starting size, but not beyond its maximum size, which is good change because you could just keep adding to zombies and having too many. So I think that's a good change as well. Maximum 40. Still feels like a lot though, 40. I'd argue
40 is a lot. It's one of the few like unit restricted like units that are restricted to maximum size. But I mean, Orcs and Gobos got away with it. Holy shit! Did Vampire Counts get away with it? Because we just only have Hellish Vigor yet, which is a straight buff to Hellish Vigor.
Yeah. The casting value was wrong, but this does bring it in line with it's also in the Tomb King document, so it's in line with that as well.
Yeah.
So
but again, if you were taking the more conservative option, it would have you would have done it the other way around. But Mortis engines untouched, still stacking. Yeah, you can still bring back a hell of a lot of Blood Dragons real easy and cheaply. Vampire Counts, their core pieces unscathed. Still fresh. So, buddy, you told me to remind you, still loads. Okay, just a quick TLDR. I think a bunch of good clarifications and changes. Was it enough for internal balance? Internal balance is another conversation. We don't actually know what the external balance is of the game right now. Therefore, that's difficult. And there's a great conversation about what has value inside of a book. But again, I think something that should be discussed in the future. Right now, I'm savagely destroyed with how bad Chaos Chosen Knights or Chaos Knights are versus Dragon Ogres, as an example, in the Warriors of Chaos book. But, that hasn't been addressed at all. And then you told me to bring up the fact that, you think that there's even more clarity needed on other subjects. Yeah, I think there's a couple more core clarifications, FAQ type things that are kind of unresolvable. Rules as written, even if you read really closely, it's hard to come to a concrete conclusion. A lot of stuff around skirmishers, how to charge them with multiple units, kind of results in a broken order of operations. How their facings work in combat, because it seems to imply that they form up, so they should be they have a flanks and rear. But if that is the case, then when do they become skirmishers again? Once that combat is resolved. There's the armor value situation that was discovered via Plague of Rust, wherein they refer to all armor values as a generic catch-all for wards, regens, and armor saves.
Yeah.
The correct reading is that they specify in every case if it's impacting armor saves, a regeneration armor save, or a ward armor save, except for maybe in Plague of Rust. Again, I think you can very clearly assume what the intended effect of a situation like that is. There's also magical armor and what types, like what conditions you have to meet to be able to equip it on a character. I think basically the ones that are left over with the breadcrumbs that we have, we can reasonably guess as community leaders, not just us, but other organizers and people in clubs, people at the table. If you're just two people playing a game, you're the leaders of your table. I think you can come to reasonable conclusions about of how it should go, and I would always recommend take the more conservative approach. Or the middle ground. Don't go for the most OP interaction, and you're probably going to be pretty close to what the way they rule, unless you're a fanatic, in which case. So yeah, I'm really pleased with this. I think to the point of your balance stuff. I think let's see what happens over the summer.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. Over the first 6 months, 8 months of the game. We're already one FAQ ahead of schedule. They were saying every 6 months or so, I think is what they said, semi-yearly or semi-annually or however they termed it. So I assume they're going to be watching and checking in on the game later. I think this is the most important thing to say here. Play the Legacy/Renegade factions at every event. Bring them in droves, pollute the meta with their unwanted carcasses, cast away into the Legacy tab on the download sections of the Warhammer community website. Because if they're going to be balancing this game, they're going to have to figure out how to unscramble an egg that includes 6 factions that they totally don't want us to play. So I think that is really, really important. Keep doing it. Keep playing Legacy factions. Make sure that Old World is whole. And that dumb decisions made by what is clearly above the design studio don't make it so we get half the game that we want.
And now I'm going to finish off this video, and thanks everyone for tuning in. If you watched it all the way through to the end, appreciate you and the support, like, subscribe, and all that other stuff. But thank you to everyone on the Patreon who helps support us. You guys are great, and some very hot topics brought up there. But Val, the hottest topic brought up in the Discord as part of that was that you were here locally about a week ago in Nottingham. Is it true? Mm-hmm. That you and JTY sat down and had a talk about this Fnatic situation, and this is why we've seen quite a light touch. Is this now? I don't want to gotcha you.
Well, actually, unbeknownst to you, at one point I did retire to, I believe in the UK they call it the toilet, and JTY and I did sit next to each other in adjacent stalls and have a brief exchange. And that is how I was able to negotiate this. However, I will point out that if you look at the metadata of these PDFs, just so that this conspiracy doesn't go unabated, if you look at the metadata on these PDFs, they were finalized on March the 14th, something like that. The legacy PDFs were finalized in the last week of March. It's kind of cool that you actually see how long it takes for them to like
put them out,
ship something, and then actually publish it. But yeah. So these have actually been in the can for a while, which also speaks to the fact that people have been saying any week now for weeks. But about a month since I first got the tip that one was coming, and that's not so bad.
It's not so bad.
We've seen worse.
What is bad is that brown envelope I saw you gave JTY behind the bins in Warhammer World. So it is bad. Anyway, listen, chat. You've all been amazing, and thank you to everyone who watches this video.
Those were actually just.
You've all been great.
Those were actually just sugar packets because they ran out of them in the break room. That was all I was doing. I was just helping them out.
He's like, bro, our scope has expanded, but our budget is still 0. So let's.
That is the most accurate thing you can say. The scope is expanded, the budget's still 0. Good luck. All right.
But listen, I think the old world is an incredibly healthy place. I've just come off the back of a bunch of events. I got a bunch of events coming up in the future. I think you should all be excited about where the game is at and also where it's going. And hopefully, if you want to, you could join me and Val on that journey for the next billion years. Because we intend to make old world content for as long as we can and to the best of our ability. And thank you to Val and also you guys for watching for this great show. It's been lovely and wonderful. Val, any shout outs before we go?
No, shout out to SDS and the folks behind putting this game together for us. I really appreciate it. I'm sure that this is not the first thing they want to be doing, or maybe it is. They're showing some duty of care with it. And again, if we stay with it and we play it and we show people that this is a good game, then hopefully it keeps growing and it's a lot of fun to participate in. And yes, just like Games Workshop and Tom Kirby, chairman's statement. We intend to do this forever.
Thank you for listening to Squarebase. See everyone soon.